Today we'll be listening to stunning animal concerts with love as a background theme. The time of rut is the essence of nature's beauty. We'll see great stags and the advances towards hinds. We'll have a really close look at them. There is a time during the year when the deep silence of the woods is pierced by an amazing sound that reverberates through the forest, the rutting calls of deer. The end of summer and early autumn is the time of rut, the mating season of deer. That's when animals begin to look for their soulmate. How to describe that sound? It's an expression of power demonstrated by stags. At the same time, it's a song soothing for the ears of every hunter. Some of our colleagues are unquestioned masters of imitating that booming calls. Soon you will have the pleasure of meeting one of them, the individual and team European champion in deer calling. Only in Eurohunters program, of course. Before that, however, we decided to take our friend and photographer Kasia on a trip to the rutting ground. But first things first. We've been in the forest since the early morning. No later, no sooner. Never does the rut sound so incredible as at dawn. The forest gives an unsettling feeling and the climbing shrubs of sunroot make it very difficult to see anything. We are at the very center of the rutting ground and we're not quite welcomed around here. We need to be very cautious and alert as any irresponsible movement may flush the vigilant animals. And in the worst-case scenario, it might end up in a sudden charge of a hormone-doped stag. The first pair of wreaths, this is how hunters call antlers in Poland, that belongs to a parading deer, appears in front of our eyes. At such moments one hears much more than one sees. The rut is the mating season of deer. In Poland, it begins in the second half of August and takes about a month. The male deer look for partners capable of giving them progeny. In order to show their strength and power and to scare the potential rival, they begin to roar loudly. It's hard to compare this sound to anything else. What's more, specialists differentiate between many different kinds of calls. Everything depends on the age and even on what you might call the social status of a roaring stag. But we'll discuss this more in our interview with the European champion in deer calling. Now we'll try to approach the animals close enough to film them without difficulty. That's why Przemek goes into the thicket. It's dawn already, a bit cold, but that's good. That's the kind of weather rutting stags like. Low temperatures are much harder to endure for people, but someone has to make a sacrifice to catch a glimpse of this beautiful show. The sneaking part is almost over. Getting any closer is pointless. Now we need to find a good hiding place and wait for a wannabe actor. Przemek with his little video cam looks as if he was about to ask the cameraman for toilet paper. But let's not make fun of Mr. Reporter, because it's getting hot in here. And we'll be shooting with cameras today, not with rifles. For example, we might aim at this fabulous stag. Beautiful pictures, amazing sounds and powerful emotions. This is what hunting is about, even if it's without weapons. It's well past 7 o'clock in the morning. There's the sun in the sky, a sign that this is going to be a beautiful day of polished golden autumn, but the courtships of deer are not stopping at all. The animals are neither afraid of the camera nor of the sun. On the contrary, there's more and more of them. Interestingly enough, they're getting more confident and run even closer to our spot. Our hinds pose like models on the catwalk, their spotlight being the beautiful September sun. It's already quite high in the sky, so we also decide to elevate ourselves and head for the hunting stands. Perhaps those bloody shrubs won't be such a nuisance once we get to the top and can see even more. I have finally reached my cameraman David. It simply feels incredible. As I was climbing up, I saw a stag on one side and even more deer on the other. There's so many of them that I almost wetted my pants. Never have I run across a meadow full of deer. Fantastic. That's right, you can see much more from the hunting stand. The Rat is nothing else than a beautiful mating theatre. The strongest stags bellow to announce that they are the ones that should be chosen by the hinds for mating. That's why it's so important to take only those stags that really need to be culled during the Rat period. The Rat is also an opportunity to observe and get to know the animals in the local hunting grounds. At the moment, we're looking at some individual hinds and stags emerging from the sunroot thicket, and they are still bellowing as if they had no watches and didn't notice that it's already late after sunrise. As a matter of fact, they don't have watches. The Rat is a time of intensified stag hunting. Figures show that the majority of stags selected as a part of annual reduction cull are shot during the Rat. It's probably because at this time one is able to get very near them and have a good look at each animal. The Rat is also an opportunity for hunting associations in Eastern Europe to make a good profit from stag licenses sold to hunters from abroad as a part of commercial hunts. Is this a good thing that stags are hunted during the Rat? In our opinion, we wouldn't lose much as a community if we stopped intensive hunting during that time. The hunting ban during the Rat applies in Spain and several other countries in Western Europe. Therefore, it's worth following the red deer population trends in countries which imposed the ban. Right, let's get back to our herd. Przemek picks at the stags running on the ratting ground with a great deal of passion. You have to admit, it's an absolutely stunning view. There are lots of them, and even though it's already quite late for roaring, they do it in full swing. It's the beauty of nature in its pure form. If you're wondering why you should visit Poland, the country where you can admire bellowing deer, then such views are a good reason to begin with. Our cameraman bravely forces his way through the thicket of sunroot in order to get yet a few inches closer to hinds and their partners. As you can see, this isn't an ideal place for strolls. Our friend Kasia, who's passionate about wildlife photography and hunting, has accompanied our group all along. And today she's had the ideal circumstances to show her best, because from early morning there's been no shortage of deer to shoot with a camera. Przemek was also delighted with everything he managed to see today, even at the price of hunting without a weapon. Although the sun is already high in the sky, stags are still bellowing, and we've found Kasia, who got lost earlier. She was just looking for better spots. Kasia, where have you been? I was on the other side of the meadow because the deer over there had a nicer roar. An old stag crowed a low grunt, as if he wanted to provoke all others. He was loud, but he didn't move forward. It was probably an elderly gentleman. I saw a fantastic herd of hinds and calves. There were lots of them. The deer are still roaring. Kasia, you went hunting with a camera and I can see it was a success. Yes, I've been hunting with a camera for a long time. I've used all kind of brands, analog ones and others. There are constant technical improvements, and a few years ago I switched to a digital camera. My father was a hunter, so I've been hunting for a long time too, but only with a camera. Some people are surprised at that, but I just prefer camera hunting.
Bo ktoś musi robić zdjęcie.
It was nice to visit the hunting ground. This time only to take pictures and shoot videos. We've caught quite many beautiful animals today. The fact that we didn't carry any weapons doesn't mean, of course, that we turned vegetarian. We will hunt deer for sure, and quite soon. But first we'll meet Tomek Maliński, the individual European champion in deer calling. So make sure to watch the next episode of Euro Hunters. For now, we say goodbye. See you on YouTube and in the woods.